Good evening, my name is T.L. Havens, or good morning, I guess, where I'm at, it's evening, wherever you're watching this. Hello, I am the president of the Truboro Group, and this is the first episode in the series, The Family of Ease. Now, I'm going to go through each word so that you know what's coming up in the other series, and we're going to be talking about things like energy, exertion, effort, efficiency, effectiveness, and efficacy. And not in that specific order, but the first thing we're going to talk about today is energy. And the reason being is when we go to a W-2 job, or we start a business and we start working on that business, we exert a lot of energy. Now, many people, I'm sure you've heard this phrase, time is money. Well, I come from a Stoic kind of thought process or background. Epictetus is one of, and Marcus Aurelius, two of my favorite Stoics or Stoic philosophers as they're categorized. And Epictetus will say, you basically cannot control, you have to look at what you can control, okay? And a lot of people are realizing nowadays, especially during the technological age, and I'm sure they did in the agricultural age and the industrial age, because each age has come with its own set of requirements for work, and alludes to like a work ethic, for example. And our school systems are centered around the industrial type of setting where you have kids going from 8 to 3. They have a 30-minute lunch. They have quick breaks in between classes. And there's a standard there that mirrors industrial type work, which you're talking about like factory type work, as opposed to agricultural type work, or nowadays in the technological age, where we have a lot of technology. We have cell phones, computers, we have satellites, we have the internet, we have wireless internet, we have Bluetooth, and everything has become really a lot of information at our fingertips online, and a lot of work, especially since COVID, has transitioned to remote work. And that is due to technology, obviously. I mean, I'm not stating anything that's, would peg me as a genius. But one thing that remains are people are realizing, or they're verbalizing, or I'm noticing that it's becoming more prevalent that people are seeing that they are selling their time for money, whether they are working in a business that they that they own, or they are going to a W-2 job working for another entity as an employee. And there are only so many hours in a day. Now, if you look at the history of time, our 7-day work week, or our 5-day work week and 2-day weekend, wasn't always like that. The Babylonians and the Egyptians, the Romans, they kind of shaped what we have today as far as the way we view time. And time is based on basically a spatial relationship of our planet with the sun, and how many revolutions it makes around the sun, and how it revolves on its own axis. And so that's broken down into years, months, weeks, days, hours, and minutes, seconds, so forth. And there was a concept in a book of 1440, because there's 1,440 minutes in a day, that this man realized, if I put this up on the wall, I'm going to realize my time is valuable, and time is seen as something you never get back, which is true. What people are doing when they're recognizing time and their, quote, ownership of time, is they're taking their lifespan, which is non-quantitative, because You don't know when you're going to die. You don't know how long you're going to live, basically, in other words. And because you don't know how long you're going to live or what event is going to cause you to cease to exist or cease to breathe, you realize that your lifespan and the time that you are gauging throughout your lifespan, and as your body ages, you're realizing that is worth something. We cannot create more time. So for a while, I was like, okay, well, time is what you trade, and it's invaluable because you cannot create more time, and you cannot predict the length of time. You only know these rules that the world has agreed to adhere to so that we can have meetings at 3 p.m. on Thursday, March 2nd, in 2025 or 2026 or whatever. And you can schedule what you're doing based on time, which the world agrees on. And I really highly suggest that you find, there's some good YouTube videos out there that aren't too long, about the history of time, because it'll blow your mind. Time really is a man-made construct, okay? Now, when I say this to the Christian world, they'll say, no, God created time. Well, I would have to say otherwise. God separated the light from the dark, called the light day and the dark night. If you read Scripture, what he was doing was he was differentiating that, those two things. And that's pretty much what he was doing, because then later on that's going to be exemplified and used as a way to understand, usefulness, basically, or value or activity. Going back to the Stoics, you cannot sell anything you do not control or own. You do not own time. You do not own or control the way the earth revolves around the sun, or you cannot control how society or the world will gauge time. What you do have, and what you're recognizing, is your lifespan, where you're at in your lifespan in relation to what is labeled as the year it is, the time of day it is, etc. So it's a very spatial and relational meter that we use to help stay organized so that we can be more productive. What you're really selling when you go to a W-2 job or you start a business, whether you start a business or you have business through acquisitions by starting a search fund and owning a business in that way, but point being, whatever work you do, you're not selling your time. What you're doing is you're selling the energy that you have during that gauged day and those active hours of light, which, business hours, so to speak, where you can function. And there are night jobs now because of technology. We have, lights, light bulbs, thanks to Edison, and excuse me, got something stuck in my throat. Things of that nature. So it allows us to work at night as well if we have to. So even farmers, they can, work at night, plant at night, harvest at night if they have to. Why? Because we have technology that allows us to have lights on the combines or, our trucks or whatever the case may be. So you're selling not your time, because you don't own time. It's not your time. It's your lifespan, and you gauge your lifespan based on your energy. And that's why a lot of advice will lead to, telling you to live a healthy lifestyle, so that not that you can expand your lifespan, but so that you can maximize the possibility of derailing any unnecessary causes of death. Okay, so working out, eating healthy, minimizing stress, etc. So you're gauging your lifespan based on a worldwide concept that is agreed that meters relational aspects of your activity in comparison or relation to other people's activity. And that's where you get hung up. That's where people get, because it'll actually, I've seen it even in myself. It can almost be depressing because you reach a certain age and you go, man, I wasted so much time. Well, you didn't waste time. You wasted the energy that you could have utilized better within that time frame or that lifespan, that portion of your lifespan that you're reflecting on. So energy is the first member of the E family that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to define energy as the amount of power that is accessible for action for you. Now, there's a word in that definition. Okay, so energy is the amount of power that is accessible for action. The amount of power. Now, what would power be? And I'm just going to make it simple. It's the ability to act. Okay? So, when you have the ability to act, you have the energy to work. That means you have the power accessible for the action of work. You have the ability to act. That's your power. That's what you control. That's actually what you're selling to your employee or to yourself if you own a business and you're running the business, depending on what you're doing, whether it be managing or working in it yourself, whatever the case may be, depending on what industry you're in. Energy is key. It is really needs to be understood that you do not sell time because you do not own time. You do not control time. You do control your body and you do own your lifespan. You do have to own your actions. You have to own your behavior. You have to be in control of that. And control is what people are trying to get whenever they say they want to be financially free. Now, we're going to go into a couple of equations, and I'm going to refer to later on when we do the series on the financial triangle. You're going to see that many people will talk about the definition but don't have the name for the concept, and I have two names for the same concept. It's just how it's applied. But it's the exact same formula. And I say formula, what is formula? Formula is just a way to systematize something. And systems is a part of being a boss. So even if you're a W-2 employee, you can still be the boss of your lifespan and your time. And it doesn't mean that you have to conflict with your employer. We need good W-2 employees. I need to be a good W-2 employee if I work for somebody, which at this point I am now. And I'm just starting the Truboro Group. January 2025 is when that come about. So it's really, really new. And then I decided all this knowledge that I have from creating a search fund to looking at my personal finances in order to get that organized so I can start a business rather than, have a business through acquisitions via the search fund. I needed to have all this in line. I wanted to share this with people, and there are so many people that's out there that will do, business coaching and consulting, and they charge you for it, and I just didn't want to do that because, number one, I know I don't know everything. Number two, there's a plethora of people out there doing it. And number three, this information shouldn't take money out of your pocket if you're trying to develop your own business and transition from a W-2 to a self-employed or an entrepreneurship. You need to have every dollar you can to allocate where you need it to be effective in getting that business started. So I don't want to take that from you. But whatever you do, so what I'm saying is this is the energy that I put in. So you're getting part of me, I'm giving you, okay? It's energy. I take the power, the ability to act that I have accessible to me, and I take action. That is a process right there. So once I understand I don't control time, I don't own time, but I own my lifespan. I'm responsible for my lifespan, responsible for my energy, and where am I going to put? How am I going to allocate my energy? Just like I would my money. If I allocate my energy correctly, then it's going to have a good return on my investment, my output, and I'm going to have a fantastic, which is relating to another family. Another E in the family of E's, which is efficiency and effectiveness, which we're going to talk about in another series. So what are the takeaways of this? Well, it is simply this. You do not own time. You're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for understanding that it is the energy that you have that you sell, and thankfully enough, energy can be reproduced through sleep, through good eating habits, through working out, maintaining a certain level of health. There are things that we will never be able to avoid because our bodies are designed to break down. But we can do things that help us out. And sometimes we do things that doesn't help us out. And, okay, nobody should judge that. That's you, that's your lifespan. And if that's where you want to put your energy or your power to act, then that's your deal. But energy is what we own, not time. And we cannot increase our lifespan or decrease or predict our lifespan. We just know we have one. And if I wake up today, how am I going to, and I have a phrase, go make a great day. How am I going to make this day great? How am I going to decrease stress levels? How am I going to maintain focus? How am I going to allocate my energy to where I'm more productive? Because I'm selling, if I'm working for myself, I'm selling my energy to my company, to me, back to me, putting it out there so that I can have a return on investment. And a lot of times that comes to money. And money, like time, is a man-made construct, and eventually every money system does perish and a new one pops up. So we see hard cash. Now we're seeing cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency hasn't replaced the dollar or the euro or things like that, hard currency, but it is there. And in the age of technology, it's becoming more prevalent that people are accepting cryptocurrency. Not real common, but it is happening. And it's definitely a way that people can make money just like they did with the Forex, okay? The currency exchange. So, powers that you have accessible for action, that is energy. And that's what you own, not your time. Get over that. Time is only the meter to organize so that employers or yourself can stay productive, and it's a key element in making sure everybody is relationally where they need to do or where they need to be in order to do what they need to do. It's all time is. So you don't own that, you own energy, and energy is the amount of power that is accessible for action, and power is just the literal ability to act. Okay? So I hope you understand what I was saying and take that as food for thought. Mull it around, think about it, study on it, as they used to say, and then make a great day. If it's night, get some good rest, feed your brain with good information, and do well. And we'll be going to the next, for the second part of the series, the Family of E's, which we're going to talk about exertion. Thank you for watching. Oh, and by the way, if you do get something out of this, you do like this, I know it's just me talking, but hit the subscribe button and the like button. Let me know what you think, and go make a great day. Thank you again.